Dara Lenihan is the President and Chief Executive of the Students' Union of the Technological University of the Shannon, with its main campus in Athlone and in Limerick, but up to another 7 campuses all around the country. Dara's come all the way to Brussels to join us for today's podcast and is here with me now. Welcome, Dara.
Thank you very much, Ciaran, for having me.
Firstly, the Students' Union, what do you do? Because I remember in my day what we did. We had protests in Athlone. What do you do now?
We do everything from political action to smaller events. We, really try to make sure that every student feels included from everything that we do. So we really try to hit them from every angle.
Everybody in Brussels has an agenda, and we have red line issues, top of the agenda. What are the big burning issues for the Students' Union at the moment, in your opinion?
Right now, it has to be accommodation. That's the top of our agenda. It's a really, really serious and pressing issue. It seems like it has been for a long, long time. And for us, it's so important to have students have the student experience, and that involves student accommodation.
So let's look at the hotspots. You have 15,000 students all over the place. Where are the burning issues, the burning problems, getting a roof and a bed over at the moment?
So our campuses consist of Athlone, Limerick, Clonmel, Thurles, and a few campuses in Limerick as well, extra ones, but it seems to be everywhere. It's all across the country, not just affecting TUS. So we really see it everywhere, and we see that it affects the student experience with people having to commute to college and not getting to get involved in clubs or societies. They don't get to have that same independence as maybe students did years ago, where they were able to get out and learn to maybe iron without mum and dad for the first time, or make their own food, or experiment with cooking, or go out with friends and just live the life of a young person. Now you're really stuck between the wheels on the bus and how long it takes 2 hours to get from college to home.
Commuting is the issue. I'm an old fogey, so I remember coming to Athlone as a student in the 1980s and staying in Auburn Heights while others stayed in Willow Park. Are you telling me that's not available anymore? There's not enough of it available anymore?
Not enough, yeah, definitely not enough. There's still some students living there, but definitely not enough. Between an influx of just more students, because the college is constantly expanding, and it's expanding so much globally as well, that we're having so many amazing international students come over and work with us, that it's just a constant battle to try and make sure that you have accommodation.
Yeah, that has to be the big thing, because in my day, there were little or no international students. Then Ciaran took over, and they seemed to come from all corners of the world. I always had, by the way, I thought there was an ulterior motive to this. I said a sports arena was built around about the same time. And of course, as we know, let's be honest, apart from providing the education, they pay a lot more fees than Irish students do.
Yeah, of course. I think it's amazing, though, that they're able to come over and actually get to experience Irish culture alongside Irish students, because Irish students do the same across the world as well. I think we all link up and reach out together, and that's what makes us European. We're lucky in TUS. We actually have a thing called Run EU, which is like a European university, where Irish students or any students going to TUS get to link up with other universities across Europe. I actually did a short advanced program myself, and I went out to Hungary at the time, and I learned what it is to be a young person in Europe, like my European identity. So I definitely wouldn't take that away from anyone, and I think it's so important that we stay connected with the international students. So yeah, I'm happy to have them.
Okay, let's get down to the brass tacks. You've come to Brussels to speak to the Housing Committee of the Parliament. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of it this afternoon. How bad is it? I mean, is it the fact there are not enough houses at your major centres, or is it the fact that they're too expensive?
It's both. There is not enough houses, and any available housing is too expensive, and it's honestly turned into a bit of an exploitation of Ireland's youth. So people are constantly actually, battling with the idea of, should I just leave because there's cheaper rent elsewhere? It's not even jobs that are taking people abroad now. It's the idea of, maybe I'll have a life somewhere else that's actually livable on the wage that I will get for the work that I do.
But if you come back, say, in terms of first years, is there any on-campus accommodation in Athlone? What's the problem there?
Unfortunately, no. There's no on-campus accommodation on any of our TUS campuses, along with any other TU across the country. So ATU, SETU, or SETU, or any other TU. The issue is that we do not have the framework to actually borrow money as technological universities, where some legacy colleges, maybe like Trinity or UCC, actually are able to borrow money or build their own student accommodation as they, want to, which is great for them. We're, obviously that's what we're looking forward to actually doing, and that would be amazing for us, because having that framework to actually borrow to build student accommodation would allow us, it would open a whole new world for students in any technological university. And to be honest, I think a lot of the anger of students now comes from feeling like we're second-tier universities compared to other universities.
Yeah, because we know others famously have bought accommodation at an outrageous price. One thinks of Limerick, for starters, it made headlines for spending far too much on it in the end. But I heard this as well when I went to Letterkenny, the ATU people saying the same thing. Our arms are tied, our hands are tied. Yet, as I said, the president can turn around and build a brand new sports arena, which he did. And don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic facility. But one would have thought that housing and accommodation would have been a bigger priority, but the government wouldn't let them do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I don't know why they didn't let them do it. For a lot of us, obviously, it makes sense that, where there is a college, there should be accommodation. And obviously then that affects our wider society, as I said, of people, leaving the country to actually go elsewhere because there's nowhere to stay at home anymore. Yeah. Even myself, I'm looking at that and I don't want to. I'll miss my community a lot. Yeah. But if I have to.
So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of the people who are staying in Athlone. Are they staying in bad conditions? Are the facilities there? Is it bed sits? Are we back to days of bed sits and sleeping in garages and all that sort of stuff?
So a lot of what we see is digs style. So digs would be you're living with a family or you're living with a person who's renting out some rooms in their house, which is fine and it's great. But unfortunately, a lot of those have curfews or have situations where, like there has been unfortunately some horror stories. People only allowed to use the microwave in a kitchen or so on and so forth. But yeah, there's some good ones and there's some not so great ones as well. So that's what we're constantly trying to fight with, because there's also no digs legislation, which would allow all digs to be at a similar standard. There's none of that, so it's hard to actually look after that.
What can you do about it? Because I hear these stories as I go around. I was in Maynooth speaking to students, and a guy come up to me and told me that he was effectively living in a converted garage. And it was so bad in terms of dampness that there was a permanent dehumidifier plugged in. And what can you do about it? The landlord say, if you're not happy, goodbye?
Yeah, and that's it, because there's no legislation on digs. Contracts for digs are actually rare, and if anybody is listening and wanting to go into digs, I would recommend asking for a contract, because it not only protects the student but also the landlord. And we found recently that more landlords are actually looking for the contracts, because they want it too. They want to feel safe as well in what's going on. And unfortunately, it's a lose-lose situation for everyone. It really is.
There is a measure though with local authorities. If the house has been rented, you can go to the local authority and raise issues. I remember in the past seeing notices going out to people because of dampness. And if the local authority is notified and it's a registered accommodation provider, I suppose they can try and enforce some sort of standards.
Absolutely. It only goes so far, though, which is the hard part. They can't walk into the house and say, well, we're going to plug in a dehumidifier for you, landlord. And, then the landlord's giving out about having to pay the electricity bill and blah, 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 which oftentimes could fall back on the student. So, when you're renting, it's not just the price that you're renting. After that, then they'll say, oh, yes, and you owe this much for electricity and this much for the bins and this much for Wi-Fi. So, it's a hard market, really difficult.
What's the lowdown in terms of the actual amount people are paying? What's the going rate in Athlone for accommodation at the moment?
Upwards of €500 a month. Which is crazy for students who are trying to actually eat. And we have a lot of students reporting back that unfortunately they're skipping meals to try and pay for their accommodation. They say, oh, well, if I just don't eat dinner this day, then I'll have enough money for my rent, or maybe I can go out with my friends one night if I don't eat here, and blah, 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 because the rent is so high. And, obviously Susie can only do so much if you're able to get Susie, which not everyone is.
Is it pushing people out to try and get part-time jobs? Is that an option for people?
Sometimes, yes, but being a full-time student, you're working on your college work in classes during the weekdays. In the evening time, you're trying to if you're trying to go to the gym or cook your food or, again, hang out with friends, like, humans are sociable animals, we should be able to. Then you're trying to do your college work on top of that. And then at the weekend, if you have a big assignment coming up and your part-time job is getting in your way, I don't know would a lecturer really accept that as an excuse. It's like, oh, sorry, I was in work. I couldn't finish my work. And a lot of lecturers would actually say, oh, hey, if you're able to, don't get a job while you're in college because it's too much. It's too much on you. You're effectively working 24/7. And I know, there's a running joke everywhere across the world that, oh, it's the student lifestyle. But God, can we cut them a break just once?
Just once, maybe. In terms of you've come to Brussels to speak to the Housing Committee. You've got a chance to speak out, speak your mind, and outline your priorities. What are you looking for? What are you going to ask them for today?
There's obviously a lot on our list that we hadn't mentioned, but really what we want is legislation, borrowing for TUs, which again is at the top of our list, and just general kind of more of a conversation around what students are going through. It's really tough. It's really, really tough at the minute. And any ears that are open listening, what we would appreciate is that if you could lobby anyone around you who has any sort of power to help us try and fix this sort of thing, that's really what we're looking for today.
There's another factor, of course, which has come into it this year, and I noticed myself as a parent, that your fees have gone up as well, which is not helping the situation.
Yeah.
And that wasn't supposed to happen, if I remember rightly, with this government policy, this government agenda.
I have a good friend who says, I'm not very good at maths, but a reduction of €500 in fees does not equal 2,500. It equals 1,500. And not only were the general public confused at this, we were getting mass emails from students going, how much do I have to pay? Because no one knew. And then when they found out the actual amount, they were like, this isn't a reduction. Now, it's a reduction in, the permanent figure of 3,000, what it was a few years ago. But we've gone back up. And we're the most expensive, like our universities are most expensive in Europe.
That wasn't the way it was supposed to be. I mean, as I say, I speak from personal experience. Last year's fees for my son in TUS at loan were 2,200. This year they're 2,600.
Yeah.
And yet we were told in the programme for government that they were going to go down, continue the downward trend. Now we're told, well, they will go down over a 5-year period, but in the meantime they're going up. So that makes it even tougher for parents and for students.
Yeah, it's really strange because a lot of, we got to talk to Minister Lawless just about everything that was going on. And one of the key issues that he didn't seem to realise was going on was that the postgraduate students were supposed to be getting 25k a year and are actually only getting 15k a year in most technological universities and other universities across Ireland. So they're actually getting well underpaid, even a livable wage at this rate, and are also expected to do full-time study. So when he had heard that, he was like, but there is funding available actually. Like his jaw dropped. He couldn't believe it. So it's not just the undergraduates who are getting, screwed over, for lack of a better term. It's everyone. There's no, and no one seems to have the answer either, which I think is the really, really frustrating part, which is why we're constantly, as 2 weeks ago we had our walkout, or we, spoke to Catherine Conley about these same issues, and anyone who we can get our hands on, we're constantly saying, hey, can you hear us? Because it feels like no one can.
And you just reminded me of one of the other groups that are on campus, the apprentices.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember working with RT on the East Campus, and you always knew the apprentices' season was upon you because the testosterone was flowing and the fast cars were going around the car park, and the souped-up cars arrived, and they always took our car parking space. That led to rows as well. But we've had this debate in the Parliament in the last couple of weeks here. They're not being paid decent money either.
No.
Some apprentices as low as €7-8 an hour.
Yeah.
And yet they're expected to be there to feed themselves and to stay in Athlone or Limerick.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the same across the country. It's like along with Athlone and Limerick and all of our other campuses, we see our apprentices, our nurses, anyone who goes out on placement doesn't actually get paid a livable wage. Yeah. And why? Because they're a student? Is that, is a reason to treat them as a second-tier citizen of Ireland? I don't know.
And like there are literally hundreds of nurses and apprentices on that East Campus,
Yeah.
all of whom are presumably competing against each other for places to live.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Completely. It's really, really tough, and they're competing for places to live and to park as well. Parking also, unfortunately, at the minute across every campus is another huge issue because we don't have the student accommodation. More people are travelling via car or bus, but a lot via car, which means that we don't have the parking spaces, which means people are actually just choosing like, oh, it's a Monday and, I'm running a few minutes late. I won't get parking. I can't come to college today.
Or you'll be clamped if you try and take, which I was once or twice as well. I want to talk broadly about, in the time remaining to us, to talk about the other gigs, the other things you're involved in.
Yeah.
I kind of jocosely said to you at the beginning that you've lost your fight. When I was in the college in Athlone, we blocked off the main canteen in a row over a delay in paying us ESF grants once. There you go. There was a bit of a rebel, a bit of the Joe Duffy or whoever it was in us that time. I see no protests anymore, and I hear of no protests anymore. Are you guys still as active as you used to be?
We absolutely are. So every year for the past few years, even while I was still a student, so this is my third year in the Students' Union, and I did my 4 years of college, we did protests every single year. The problem is we can't protest against our college because they stand with us completely. They completely stand with us. And it's the same with colleges across Ireland. They're also crying out for help from the government. But as I said before, no one seems to be listening. So if we're protesting against the college, we're just fighting among ourselves, and what does that get us? I think projecting going forward, I think it'll be about working together and possibly having lecturers and students and staff of the college come together as one and say to the government, now can you hear us?
Yeah. I put in a request to your president, Professor Canan, to meet. I have a lot of issues to talk to him about, housing being one of them, and more so in other areas, training and education and different types of training. How do you get on with the president's office?
Oh my God, amazing. He's incredible. We're so lucky with the relationship.
You're saying all the right things here now, Dara, you know that.
Thank you.
Promotion awaits you.
We're really lucky in terms of Vincent and I and the rest of the Students' Union team work so closely together to actually fight the same issues because we're all on the same page. And we're lucky in that way. We've always had a really good relationship with our university, but I just feel this year it's really come together as we're all fighting towards the same agenda, which is for the betterment of the student experience.
Well, what else, and this is where it gets personal, I suppose, let's leave the housing aside then for a moment. What else are you prepared to fight for? What are the big issues in terms of students in college in Ireland and in the Midlands at the moment? Is it equality? Is it welfare? Is it education rights? Is it sex education? What are the burning issues that are not being looked after for students?
Absolutely. So we're really lucky in Athlone. We actually have sexual education and a sexual health nurse who looks after and works with the SU a lot on, reaching out to students about their sexual health. We had a van come on campus last year and test students for AIDS, and there was tons of students of every walk of life who decided to go get tested, so including the whole SU team, because we said, hey, let's lead by example. We also do smaller events such as Battling Burnout, which is incredible as well, where we do these little events like crocheting or pumpkin carving recently, or creating masks for a masquerade night. We're also actually planning on doing a welfare survey come semester 2, which will follow into how our students are actually doing. It's so important, especially come semester 2, where they're kind of coming to the end of their college year,
What about the people like me that dropped out before we got to semester 1?
Absolutely.
Are they still falling off the edge and just disappearing?
No, not at all. We have a Don't Drop Out, Drop In campaign. So before a student feels, they're like, oh, I want to drop out, we ask them to pop into us and they can come and talk to us about their options and if dropping out is really right for them or if it's maybe just a change of course they need. We're really lucky. We've got a lot of big plans coming.
Some people say, I should add by saying that I did drop back in again later on and got my degree eventually, but I did drop out. I was finding the maths incredibly difficult in mechanical and plastic engineering. Last week I was down in Ballin, County Mayo, speaking to people in the trades industry in the area, and they were saying, for starters, we should bring in apprentices at a much earlier age. That it is pointless at this point in time bringing some students even to the end of Leaving Cert when it is clear at an early stage they want to be a mechanic, they want to be an electrician, they want to be a plumber. In your mind, is there any place for earlier apprenticeship training at third level?
Absolutely. I would be a huge advocate of listening to the needs of people. I found out that I was dyslexic when I got to college through our amazing disabilities office. So they were actually able to screen me for dyslexia and then give me the supports I needed while I waited to get tested. So I think if people are saying, yeah, I know what I'm capable of and what I can actually do, and apprentices are I'm like incredibly talented, at their crafts and at their the things that they do. So I would love to see more people actually take up the tools that they want to take up and show, prove themselves what they can do. I'd love to see that.
I'm going to get personal now for the remainder of the interview. This is where we kind of delve in these podcasts a little bit into you and your life and time. Favorite music, Dara Lenihan. Tell us about your favorite music artist or musician.
Absolutely. So I absolutely love Gorillaz. I think they're a really cool band. I think they've been around actually since I was born, so people call me a bit of a hippie for that, but I think a lot of people like Gorillaz. So, you can't beat Feel Good Inc. That was released in 2001, same year I was born.
Job done. And don't ask me about the Gorillaz records or hits, because I'm not going to be able to answer it. Tell me this about your life. Food. Favorite food, Dara?
Favorite food? This is a weird one. I actually am not picky with food at all. I love every kind of food. So, my housemates actually call me a human bin. So, which is, not in a very funny way. Like, I'll absolutely eat anything.
Sounds like a student. You'll eat anything that's put in front of you. And the last one, and it may not apply at all, favorite sport, if you're into sport?
Favorite sport? Yeah, I love jiu-jitsu. I do a bit of jiu-jitsu here and there. I've had to step away from it recently just because of how busy we've been in the Students' Union office. But I absolutely love jiu-jitsu. I think it's the kind of sport where you can really get to know, kind of like chess.
Excuse me ignorantly, what is it?
Jiu-jitsu is a martial art. So it's basically, it's a lot of contact defense and trying to, maneuver yourself so that you're actually able to, submit your opponent. I like it a lot because as I said before, just there, it's a lot like chess, where you're thinking of, what move should I make next so that I don't end up on the floor.
Right, well, crucial information. Sounds like politics, actually. Very, very like politics. Sounds a bit like this place when we're going around it. I'm going to come back to a serious issue before we end, but I do want to ask you about the backup team. Have you got good support? Now's your time to name them. Who's with you in the team in Athlone and elsewhere? Oh
my God, I have the most amazing team. So I have 3 deputies. I'm very lucky. I have Malcolm McDonough, Garode Folan and Jos Geibels, and they're my 3 deputies of Midlands, Midwest and postgraduate. And then I have 5 VPs. There's Shannon Ree, we have Emma, we have Adri, we have Amanda and we have Lix. And then we've got 8 PTOs underneath, and all 8 of those guys are amazing. There's Malia, Naima, Rob, John, there's Emanuela, oh God, I don't even know how many I've named now. That's 5 of them, but there's a lot of them, and each of them are incredible. There's Dora as well, and I'm just trying to make sure I get all of them. Sarah.
Yeah, because they won't talk to you now.
I know, yeah. Who have I left out?
We'll have to add it to the credits for this podcast at the end of the day.
I think so. They're just
in my day, it sounds like I'm 108. But in my first time round in Athlone in 1983, he was there. And my second time round in 2020, when I graduated the second time, Shay Casey was on the corridors of that place and doing a really good job in terms of looking after people and helping people look after their own head as well,
Yeah.
Is he still doing that?
He is still going. That he will never ever stop, I think, really. He still does Food Cloud, he still helps everyone out. Genuinely one of the biggest supports, and that, and obviously the union staff that we have as well. There's 5 of them. I won't name them all, but we're really lucky in terms of Shay Casey. He really, really does God's work, as they say. He'll do anything for anyone. And there's been times before I've had to call, say, hey, I'm having a panic situation. What do I do here? And he's able to go, oh yeah, I know what to do. And it's really helpful.
Okay, I promise you one last stinger of a question before I left. What age are you?
I'm 24.
Do you think you will own your own house in Ireland in the future?
No, I would like to, it's a dream, but no, I don't think so.
Why not?
The way that the market's going at the minute, if they still refuse to build accommodation, or housing or so on and so forth, just with the pricing, there's no way I'll ever get a mortgage for that. I really think that I'm going to have to leave Ireland, unfortunately. You know, and I'm looking at other cities. You know, obviously I was in Brussels today, so I'm constantly shopping around to see, is there an affordable place I can live? And I don't think that's home.
But surely this is crazy. I mean, Athlone has one of the most significant employers in the country, if not in Europe, in Ericsson, in the town, paying good wages for the most part.
Yep.
These people must be buying houses someplace. I mean, although I'm told that even too good wages makes it difficult to get a mortgage now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's increasingly difficult. It's about finding a job in your area and not having, you know, obviously to do a crazy commute just so that you're spending tons of money on, as I said, the transport, and then actually being able to get back to your house in the evening and get to spend time in it. You know, get your money's worth for your house. But yeah, I just don't think so. I think that, you know, there was new houses built recently just on the Bower Hill, and they're lovely and they're beautiful and people are going in there, but they filled up like that. So, you know, I don't see a chance for me or a lot of my peers and friends.
Kind of no time. And finally, Athlone, how's the town going? I mean, in my day, he says again, sounding like 120, there was Brendan's Bar across the road. It seemed to close, and now I think it's opening again. But there's a lot of stuff happening in the town now that wasn't there when I was in college.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really lucky. The town life is amazing. I originally come from a small village in Offaly, so coming to a town like Athlone, I was like, wow, this is incredible. It's utopia here.
What is this small village in Offaly?
It's called Road.
Road, not that small. Yeah. Not that small at all. So coming from Road into Athlone was big. The cinemas wasn't there in my day. It's there. The theatres.
Yeah, there's loads to do.
Clubs.
Yeah, Yeah, we have 2 clubs at the minute. Good few pubs, obviously. You know, we've got river walks and everything. There's like nature walks everywhere now, and just tons to do. You know, it's a really foodie and coffee town. So if that's what you're into, obviously.
They made us walk to the far end of the town to the Jolly Mariner, which is where the apartments are now down there, for the Jolly Mariner disco on a Thursday night. My son goes to someplace in the middle of the town on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Is it a downstairs club or something? What's it called?
That would be called
I'll give them a plug.
Piano Bar.
Piano Bar. Well, what about Piano Bar? I knew long ago. You know,
or Ozone as well as the club downstairs.
That's the one.
Yeah.
The one.
Everybody loves Ozone. It's brilliant. I'd highly recommend.
And on a Wednesday night, there's still a bit of student life in Athlone?
Oh, yeah. Oh, majorly. Yeah, of course. I think where there's students, there's going to be student life. And
they say you haven't got the money for the rent, but you have it for Ozone on a Wednesday night. That's what they'd say now. You know that.
I know. It's terrible. But students have to live. Let us live. Let us be young.
Listen, it's been great to meet you. Thank you for joining us on the podcast today. I hope you're successful in your main objective to try and get that campus built in Athlone by the college and by the university. And hopefully in a few years' time, we'll be able to look back and say this was a turning point, the day that Dara Lenihan sat down with Ciaran, the MEP, and said, let's build it and they will come.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for joining us today. How was the time, Owen? I had no watch this time, so I was bluffing.